Good evening, everyone. This is One World Chronicle presenting Celtic Gold. This is issue number 7 of 7, and tonight we're going to be talking about tactical considerations for a changing environment. We'll also be sort of in a brief overview of the last 6 videos that we've put together. Stefan, great to have you here. Thanks very much for
Thank you, Ian.
For putting these information videos together for everyone. These are all based on questions that have been emailed in to editor@oneworldchronicle.com or info@celticgold.eu. So just moving on to the next question here was, Stefan, do you think that history is actually repeating itself?
I very well believe so. I did start researching the history of money and the financials 6.5 years ago, and I spent about 1 year going to work from 10 to 6 every day, and then going back, having a run with my friend, having something to eat, and then starting to research from 7 till 2 or 3 in the morning. So that went on for almost 1 year, and I kind of did an initial research of about 3,000 hours. To understand what is really going on and what's the historical context of these things. So, yes, I believe history is repeating itself. It's a lesson, it's a pattern that is showing up all the time, every time, and I'm not alone. Because Gerald Celente, which we had the opportunity to meet and present in Dublin last year, he thinks the same.
Yeah, I think we shared that view with him on a number of occasions. On what basis do you find your key saying?
Well, one of the bases is the amount of research I did. And 6.5 years ago, it wasn't everywhere. I mean, it was really digging. It was like going into history books, trying to research specific time frames and areas, extracting this information out to learn about how this monetary stuff ever worked. And so the core of what I know is basically in 2 books. And one of the books is called 8 Centuries, this time it's different, 8 Centuries of Financial Folly, and it's a book written by 2 authors called Carmen Reinhardt and Kenneth Rogoff. It is considered to be one of the 5 top influential books on economics in these days, and they researched 800 years of financial history over 80 countries.
Is that all they could find?
I don't know, but I was blown away by reading it. It's about 300 odd pages.
Yeah.
And there is one pattern occurring all the time, every time. And the one historical fact is that paper currencies always fail.
Yeah.
Man-made currencies fail. The only thing that ever survived as being money was gold and silver.
Okay.
And the second book is written by a Swiss banker called Ferdinand Lips, and his book is titled Gold Wars, and he's putting little snippets or copies of newspaper articles from The Economist and from various other newspapers along that journey that he does to provide evidence to the fact that the gold price is suppressed, and to highlight these monetary key understandings. And it is one of the top books to read about gold and to read about world currency history. The book written by Kenneth Rogoff and Carmen Reinhardt.
Both these books are available via your website, aren't they? There's links to these books.
Yes, we do. We do have a section called Helpful Books and Links, and we've put these 2 books up there. Okay. And if you click on the link, you come to a description of the book. So they can be bought everywhere, of course, and these are the 2 top recommended reads.
Okay, cool. What's your scenario? Inflation or deflation?
I personally would bet on inflation, because this is what paper currencies historically always did. They're creating inflation by simply expanding the money mass. And when you look at the history of these paper currency cycles, then it usually ended up in hyperinflation. Not always, but usually.
Okay.
So I bet inflation it is.
And when do you expect the currencies to collapse? A date specific?
Not really, not really. As said before, it's like a continuous process
Mhm.
that's taking away value from our money. So I do not know if we see a specific date where the switch is turned on, so to speak.
Okay.
I do believe we see a restructuring in the world currencies between 2015 and 2020.
Okay.
But then it can happen tomorrow, it can happen next month. There are some financial writers that bet their reputation on something happening in, I think it's March or April this year.
Yeah.
But I do not know personally, and the system wants to stay alive as long as they can.
Well, it's on serious life support machine at the moment. Um, what can the concerned investor do to protect his investment?
Yes, as said before, one of the few ways is to move like your liquid assets that you have and that you're worried about into something tangible, into tangible assets such as gold and silver.
Mm.
And remember, always go physical. Never
Mhm.
put any of these IOU paper option certificates or something in your portfolio. And I do personally recommend to have a bit of stock,
Mhm.
bartering goods, food supply, and gain skills. That's basically what I do personally.
Mm.
Like I started to chop and make my own firewood, dry it out, and get an own supply, and then we're trying to grow stuff,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah. We seem to have forgotten all the old methods.
Yes.
You know. Yeah. It's very true. Um, where do you see the gold and silver price in the future?
Well, right now we're in this sort of sideways movement between 1680 and $1,800 per ounce, and that movement is with us for quite some time.
Mm.
So at some point I expect prices to break above the $1,800
Mhm.
mark, and as soon as that happens we may see 2000 very quickly, because it's all there. The Chinese are buying currently
Mm.
like crazy. Russia stocks up, and every ounce of gold that is sort of like available on the market gets soaked up, usually by Asian buyers. So I expect gold to continue to rise, and as said, we do see gold becoming overvalued at some point between $5,500 an ounce up to $10,600 an ounce. Where that exactly is, we don't really know, but we will know at the time we're looking, when gold reaches through $5,000.
Do you think is it significant that China bought more gold last year than the ECB holds in reserves?
Oh well, I do believe it's very significant. The Chinese want to get rid of their currency reserves, held in foreign currency, obviously, and I do believe they're great believers in gold, and they see that this is the future.
When the mainstream media sends people in the wrong direction, where can the individual get accurate information?
That's a very vital point. And I found myself, when I did the research first, I found it sometimes very confusing, because you hear stories and conspiracies and whatnot all the time.
Mm.
So one of the sources, obviously, is the oneworldchronicle.com.
Oh,
It's the gold
fantastic
and silver
website.
section.
OneWorldChronicle.com, yes, fantastic.
So because you find it's a very unique composition, because you find all the experts that are in the market in one place,
Yeah.
and you can read all the news in order. Um, so so then, other than that, there's alternative websites, obviously, that report stuff, but they're all linked into this category gold and silver on the One World Chronicle. But to name a few, King World News is
Great site, yeah.
one of the fantastic sites. Zero Hedge is one of the most fantastic sites, and then we have Jim Sinclair's website, who is
Yeah.
like Mr. Gold,
Yeah.
and he's the world renowned expert on these on gold. And his website is jsmindset.com. But his articles are on. I've seen them on the One World Chronicle
Okay.
repeatedly. So we have these websites, and we have a few heads, which is like Eric Sprott, Jim Sinclair, James Turk, and then we have Alistair McLeod. The people around Zero Hedge, but they all rename themselves. So
Yeah.
one guy is called Tyler Durden, obviously, which
Yeah.
links to the Fight Club movies. So
And
so
of course, Gerald Celente.
Gerald Celente,
Mm.
absolutely.
Mm.
I would actually recommend for everyone to subscribe to his Trends Journal.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah.
It's about $99 a year,
Mhm.
and obviously we don't get any compensation from
What-
Gerald
no.
or whatsoever. But I do believe it's vital for people to know, and Gerald's got a way of presenting this information to people. It's very deeply researched, and you
Mhm.
can actually go on your own a little journey and research it and find these things to be accurate, and which is a fantastic thing. And $99, to be perfectly honest, I wasn't aware at the time I talked to him about subscribing that you get such a huge value for your money. So I'm not saying anyone you should or you shouldn't, but I say this is one of the very
He has some
few-
fantastic writers there. He has Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, who's ex-Reagan administration, etc. It's good people writing in there, so it's good stuff. You're recommending subscribing to the Gold Bulletin as well as one of the main sources of good, accurate information. Where can I subscribe to the Gold Bulletin?
The Gold Bulletin, you can subscribe on our website, and it's the second box on the left-hand side, just below the gold price ticker.
Mhm.
It's a golden box, and you can subscribe there. And when you subscribe, you'll get a free report, which is called The 5 Common Mistakes the New Investor Makes,
Mhm.
and how to avoid them, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
So, and then you receive the twice monthly gold bulletins,
Yeah.
and it's tons of information packed with market updates, knowledge and stories around gold and money.
And if I join today, is there access to the past editions?
Yes, there is. If you go to the website and you click the gold bulletin, it's in the main menu bar.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get access to the archive. It's totally free, and I think we've got over 300 pages of written knowledge and information out for you to read and educate yourself.
Excellent. So when SH1T hits the fan, how do you think this is going to map out?
Well, that's another one of the $10 million questions. I believe we're going to see a series of disruptions.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe another financial crisis. So
Okay.
we're past the banking crisis, but we're still waiting for a few players to come down.
Mm-hmm.
And we may see disruptions in the supply chain. So a bit of food storage would be good.
Mm-hmm.
And we just see more and more control that is imposed upon us.
Yeah.
So we can already follow this thought from limits that you can withdraw at the ATM.
Yeah.
So you can't get more than £200 in the UK, as I was told, and they're talking about getting it down to €500. So in Ireland you get €700 maximum. In Germany you
Per
get
day?
yeah. In
Yeah.
Germany you get €1,000 maximum per day, and they have moved down the weekly withdrawal limit in Germany from 5,000 to 3,500 per week 2 years ago. So you can already see there's more and more control, there's more and more
They're moving us away from the
restriction.
cashless society.
Yeah.
Mm. What other suggestions have you? How do you prepare? You mentioned a few there. Food storage, learning some skills. Anything else?
Obviously get some gold and silver. I always believe that the assets that you have worked for in your life, as I said, is surplus labor. It's
Mhm.
something that you have done. It's your energy that you put out in the market. You may or may not took some risks, and you made a living. You earned it. So why would you risk losing it?
Mm.
That's always the point. I can't get my head around it.
Yeah.
Why would anyone be consciously want to lose the money that the person has worked for?
Yeah.
So I believe gold and silver, food storage, bartering goods, stuff people will need, soap, flour, sugar, salt, cigarettes, alcohol, like long-lasting stuff especially.
So you'd recommend preparing for bartering?
Yes, I do. Yeah,
Yeah.
like a small scale local bartering. So maybe people need candles, so that's one, or maybe some extra clothing or shoelaces,
Yeah.
you know, belts, stuff like that.
Yeah. What about all the electronic alternative currencies that are on the internet? For example, Bitcoin would be one. What do you make of those kind of things?
I'm a great fan of the alternative currencies, and I do believe they have a vital role in bringing the currencies down and actually preserving people wealth. So I think it's a good idea. But if we're looking at at a financial meltdown, a global meltdown, because everything's linked and connected,
Mm.
then I would prefer having things tangible in your place, locally around you. You know,
Mm.
so like you don't bet everything on the electronic bartering, because it can be shut down at any time.
So if they hit the internet kill switch, you have no access to your money.
So that's it.
Mm. So by that then, my next question was, why do you recommend having small gold coins at hand?
Yes, for the very same reasons, for people should have some bartering goods.
Mm.
Like you need a small gold coin or an ounce of silver to actually go and start trading, and redeem your gold and silver into a weekly grocery supply,
Yeah.
or into a bag of firewood,
Yeah.
or whatever you need at the time.
Yeah, there's no point in going out with a 500-gram bar of gold to get a loaf of bread.
No, that would be that would be working out.
You talk about the historical purchasing power of gold and silver. What does this mean?
The historical purchasing power links back to the ratios we've talked before. 2,000 years ago in the Roman Empire, we had a ratio of 1 to 10, like 1 ounce of gold was
Mhm.
made up of 10 ounces of silver,
Okay.
and vice versa.
Mhm.
So we do know about the purchasing power of the Roman Empire very well.
Mhm.
For example, a worker earned 240 denarius per year,
Okay.
and these 240 denarius were silver coins, and each silver coin had a weight between 3.4 and 3.9 grams.
Okay.
So that means you could make a living, I mean, although a basic living, with 876 grams.
Okay.
Perfect.
Mm.
So if you would think about that, that would be 2.5 ounces per month.
Okay.
An ounce of silver traded at 30 euros would be like 75 euros.
Okay.
So we
Yeah.
definitely wouldn't be
You're a
able
bit
to
tight
make a living.
nowadays.
So we wouldn't really come that far.
No.
But if we go back to these old historical purchasing powers,
Yeah.
then even a small investment in these metals will help you to get along very, very well.
Okay, so if gold was 1800, so 10 is 1800, so 2.5, 36. So that's 450 a month. Well, not a lot, but you might be able to do something with it.
Well, food, shelter, energy, clothing, travel
Mm.
would be pretty tight, eh?
Yeah. So tell us, what if the crash never happened?
If the crash never happened, you've lost nothing. Because you've got your skills, you've got your bartering goods, you can consume your groceries, and gold and silver will hold their value. If the crash never happens and gold reaches its overvalue time, then you just exit.
And as you mentioned before in the previous video, Celtic Gold buys back.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So you can get out of the market.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Stefan, thanks very much for your time. I think, we've done 7 videos now. You've answered 70 questions. 70 questions that have been sent in by the readers and by people who sent in emails, and people who've watched the videos, people that have been to the talks. So, if people need any more information, they can go to oneworldchronicle.com and check out the gold and silver section. They can also go to your own website, www.celticgold.eu. They can also email you at info@celticgold.eu. Ask you any questions that you have. Some of these again, and these videos again will be available, and hopefully they might make it into one of your future gold reports, gold bulletins.
Well, we're happy to welcome every new subscriber, and we can only encourage people to really educate themselves, like dig deep, question stuff. Don't believe us, don't believe the stuff that Ian said or that I say. Think for yourself. This is what Cheryl Salenti always says. Think for yourself, have your opinion, and gain some knowledge, and then what you do with your knowledge.
Knowledge is power.
As I say, what you do with your knowledge is called wisdom.
Yes.
So be wise in your decisions. That's the idea.
Well, listen, I think it was a wise thing for us to do, to have this conversation today. And listen, thanks very much for doing the videos. And I hope that when people watch the videos, that they certainly will gain something from it. And hopefully they will get on the computers, go to CelticGold.eu and start getting some physical gold and silver.
We're very happy.
And what is it they say? If you don't have it, you don't own it.
If you can't hold it,
If you can't hold it, you don't own it.
That's
On
right.
that, Stefan,
Thank you, Ian.
it's been
Thank
a
you very
pleasure.
much.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
This is One World Chronicle. Stefan Kraemer, thanks. Good night.